Hi, I'm Andy with Ninox. In this class, we're going to look at what we have to do to post our transactions so those transactions and their impact on our finances will appear on our financial statements. To post our transactions, we're going to go under Utilities. We're going to select Period Close to get to this screen. We must enter a year, and I'll enter the current year. And we must select a period, either one of the 12 months or the year-end close. We'll talk about the difference between these two types of closing in a moment, but for now, let's just say we want to close September of 2023. The system administrator will have set a separate security key that must be entered into this field before posting can occur. The security key is upper and lowercase sensitive and should include special characters and no spaces. Right now, the default security key, if your administrator has not changed it, is close month. Once the appropriate security key has been entered, this button will appear confirming the period we are about to close, whether it's the month or the year end as we see here. I'm going to go back to just closing 1 month. When we click the button, the system is going to remind us this process cannot be interrupted, it cannot be undone, and it cannot be reversed. Please make sure you have a current, accurate backup of your system before you close a month or a year. And while it's not mandatory, we strongly recommend that all users be out of the general ledger when closing is taking place. They don't have to be logged out of the ERP, but they should be logged out of the general ledger when posting is happening. Click Confirm, and after just a few moments, you'll see transaction posting is complete. At this point, I can go to Reports. I can go under the accounting module, company and financial, and run any of my financial reports, which have now been closed as of the month, the period that I just closed. Now let's go in and look real quickly at our journal, our general journal or general ledger, to understand the impact of closing a month. We already know one impact. All of the transactions in the journal will be posted, and all transactions in our subjournals. And we see here our job cost journal, sales, inventory, payroll, time cards, payables, purchasing, and cash transactions. When we close a period or we close a year, all of the transactions in all of our subledgers get posted to the general ledger, and subsequent to that, all of the transactions in the general ledger are locked in, which means they no longer can be edited, changed, or redistributed. You will also note that when entering journal entries, and we'll see a journal entry here, there is no option to delete the transaction. Only the system administrator can delete a general journal transaction. Here in the distribution, you can edit the distribution and change the accounts in the general chart of accounts to which the transaction is distributed. As long as you have unposted transactions, you can change the distribution. But once created, you cannot delete a general ledger journal entry. The only way to effectively undo the impact of that entry, assuming there is a transaction amount greater or other than 0, is to set in a reversing or adjusting journal entry. So once we have gone in to Utilities and closed the period, all of our subjournals will be locked. This means invoices to customers cannot be changed. Purchase orders cannot be changed. Once a transaction is marked for posting and the posting or the period close has been executed, those transactions are locked. The general ledger for the period, which can be a month or a year, is locked, and all of your financials are now current. In order to be able to post, in order to be able to go into utilities and access this period close function, there are a few security settings that must be in place. And the system administrator can access those settings here on the user profile. First, it must be an active profile, and multi-factor authentication must be turned on. The system user, at the very least, must be a manager. If they're an admin, that's fine. That outranks manager. But at the very least, they must be a manager. In addition, this user must be able to access the accounting module, and they must be able to produce statements and ledgers. If any one of these settings is not in place, if the profile is inactive, MFA is turned off, or they're not a manager, if they can't access the accounting module, or they can't run statements and ledgers, that means the period close option will not be available to that user. To those users that are so authorized, once a period closes, again, you'll get a dialog box which will appear right here on your screen telling you that the close has been completed, and you're now free to start entering transactions for a future period and or running your financial reports. A few more things to keep in mind. You do not have to close one period to begin entering transactions for a different period. For example, if I'm closing March, I may be doing that within the first few days of April. I can put in April transactions, go in and close March. Nothing will happen to my April transactions. They can still be edited, updated, and in certain situations, deleted. Only the transactions for the selected period will be locked when the close has been successfully completed. Also note that if you have to retroactively change periods that have been closed, periods that have been posted, you would do that by going into the general ledger, into the adjusting journal entry, click add new, and you will make transactions dated with a past period. The same way you can enter transactions for a future period, you may enter transactions for a past period. If I have to make an adjustment to a employer payroll tax withholding, and I want to do that for the first payroll of the month of March, I can go back to March 15th of 2023, select the proper expense and payroll distribution accounts, distribute the transaction to the proper GL accounts, and then return to utilities and close a month that was already closed. You can close a month multiple times, but once you've closed it the first time, the only way to change the balances for that month is to add new transactions as adjusting journal entries. And remember one more thing. When you enter a transaction as an adjusting journal entry, you can set the transaction date to be a past period, even a period that's already been posted and closed. But the system will automatically stamp the transaction with the current date and time and name of the user making the entry. So a transaction entered in December that adjusts account balances in March according to the transaction date will affect the March financials, but from an audit trail perspective will be reflected in the December activity. That's all there is to posting, and once you're posted, you can now go in and run your active financials. Thanks a lot. We'll see you in the next video.